the internet, I'm Sir Ian Bowler, and welcome to Speak to Your Member. This week we've actually got a letter. I've got a letter, which was the point of the whole thing, and it's from Tom Pride. Tom Pride. I bet he got ribbed about that a lot at school. Gay pride. Well, he would have if it were at my school. I mean, there was a lot of bullying at my school, mainly of me. I remember one time I'd been debagged, my trousers were around my ankles, I was just standing there, my cheeks burning with shame, upper and lower, a Latin primer clutched between my knees, as people danced around chanting things and hurling apples and books and flob, and I just thought, it's my own fault, it's my own fault, it's my own fault. I should never have gone to the staff room in the first place. Tom's letter runs, tell us a little about yourself. So, I am Sir Ian Bowler, MP for Buckland and Ruttington, and I know what you're thinking, here's another overprivileged Tory who went to one of the best public schools and then on to Oxford or Cambridge. But that's not true, that's not the case. In my case, I went to the School of Hard Knocks, which was founded by Josiah Hardknocks in 1739. It's a very minor public school, you know. It's very expensive, but it's very minor. I've always been interested in politics. I can remember from my very earliest years I wanted to privatise things, I wanted to destroy the NHS, I wanted to start wars around the world, and I wanted to demonise the poor and immigrants. And so in the late 90s, as a young man who felt like that, I did the only thing available to me, you know. I joined the Labour Party and stood as a Labour MP in 2004 in the by-election here, when my predecessor was unfortunately killed by a swan. You know, they can break your arm with a flap of their wings, and this one had a knife. So in 2004 I was returned for Buckland and Ruttington, and I served as Labour MP until 2009, when there was, as some people might remember, an election scandal, during which, you know, mistakes were made. In my own case, they included the Duck Island, the Donkey Archipelago, the Beaver Peninsula, and the series of outbuildings that became known as Monkey Mansions. I mean, looking back, in retrospect, I could have discovered that rhesus monkeys are highly aggressive and territorial and infectious, but had I known that, I could not in all good conscience have hired them to work in our local Shore Start Centre. So, in 2009, I said I would stand down at the next election, and I did. I stood down as Labour MP, and stood against myself as the Conservative candidate, and won. The people of Buckland and Ruttington demanded change, and change they got. Since then, I have been I'm not going to say loyal backbencher, but I have been a continual backbencher, which is fine. Right, what's your typical day as an MP? This is quite a tough one, because there is no such thing as a typical day. You know, some days in the House of Commons we get roast beef for lunch, other days it's a saddle of lamb, or a rack of goose, or a haunch of venison, or a helmet of beef, you know. There's no such thing as a typical day. What do you think of David Cameron? Well, what do I think of David Cameron? Well, I have known David since we were at prep school together, and I think David is a very, very forceful man. He knows what he wants, and he knows how to get it, you know? And he's quite an aggressive lover, allegedly. Do you have any message for the voters before the coming European elections? Do I have a message for the voters in the coming Yes, I do. And my message is this. On the 22nd of May, we are going to go to the polls in what will be a uniquely important election that will decide the makeup of the European Parliament for the next few years. So I have to say this. If you are a thoughtful person, if you're a person who cares about the future of democracy, if you are in any way interested in the way our country is governed, if you're paying attention to the news, if you're aware of what's going on, and if you simply have an interest in and a desire for good government, stay at home. stay at home on May the 22nd. We have no desire to have your kind of ideas involved in cluttering up this election. What do I think of Nigel Farage? What do I think of Nigel Farage? Well, I think it's very easy to poo-poo Nigel, partly because he's covered in a viscous, oily membrane that means it just slides right out of you. You can't get any purchase on the bowel. People throw things at Nigel, they just don't stick. Again, that's mainly the membrane. But I think Nigel has the looks of a young Clark Gable and the bulging throat sac of a natterjack toad. You know, he says all MEPs are useless, and he should know he is one. Nigel is talking about things that usually just aren't talked about. Things like immigration, you know. I was in a town near Windsor the other day where, if you didn't know better, you'd swear you were in Legoland. Not a white face as far as the eye could see. They were all yellow. They popped right off. How successful has the coalition been? Well, people often ask me, what is a coalition? What is a coalition? Let me tell you, coalition is when you take two powerful complementary forces and you put them together to make something even better. Like, for example, if you were to take a weasel and to put it into a sack with another weasel and squeeze very, very hard, then maybe, just maybe, you'd end up with one enormous mega weasel! Or two ordinary dead weasels and a sack full of weasel blood. So it's a win-win. I mean, the essence of coalition, of course, is compromise. And there has been a lot of compromise. You know, Nick Clegg didn't agree with tuition fees, now he does. David Laws was very against the sort of cuts we were proposing, now he's very for them. Vince Cable was very against raising VAT to 20%, now he's for it. There's been a lot of compromise on both sides of the Lib Dems. For my own part, you know, it's just fills you with happiness to see people getting along so well in order to govern the country. Sitting there, smiling faces around the cabinet table where you were told you would be. There's no space now. Make room for the Lib Dems. Everyone bunch up and make room for the Lib Dems. And I certainly, I for one, won't be coming home tonight watching BBC News 24 with my trousers around my ankles, eating mayonnaise from a jar with a fork and crying myself softly to sleep on my Margaret Thatcher pillow. Not tonight. I'm not going to do that tonight. Why should people vote Conservative? Why should people vote Conservative? Well, here's the thing. Conservatives, if you're going to vote for a party that, a right-wing party that's going to cut public services and pander to the tabloids, and you are, because that's all that's on offer, you may as well do it for one that's open, that's honest about it. What do you think about the EU? Now, the EU is a place where unelected bureaucrats spend millions and millions of taxpayers' euros swilling fine wines and trolling around the finest, most cultural cities in Europe, all the time making laws that nobody voted for and that they cannot be got rid of for. It sounds like heaven. So, what do you think of social media and the internet? I am on Twitter, at Sir Ian Bowler MP. I have a website. I have a website which was set up for my mayoral campaign. It's called ebowler.co.uk, and together with your help, we can make eBowler go viral across the UK. Thanks very much, Tom Pride viewers. See you soon. Bye.